Mic check. Are we live?
Seems like it.
Welcome. Do I sound good, people? People that's watching in RPG maker or indie developer land, can you hear me good? Do I sound too soft or too loud? Am I perfect? Is my co-host, do he sound like he's inside of a can of tomato soup? I think everything sounds good. Okay.
Testing as well.
All right, sounds good. All right, guys, welcome once again to another episode of the Rarely Typical Players podcast, RTP for short. Today, I would like to introduce myself. You know me, D757 Darkman for D757 Gaming. Then I have to my right, my co-host, developer of Starship Entertainment, Starship Rebellion, Starship Origins, Starship Legacy, Starship Freelancers, Starship every freaking where. Cychronic freaking games, man. You like say anything, my guy? You like say anything?
Hey, what's up? Looking forward to critiquing this game.
All right. Yeah. Then we got the new face. The new face of RTP, baby. Guy surprised me last episode with his knowledge and his love for RPG Maker. My guy Marlon, you like to say anything, my guy?
No, what's up? Yeah, really hyped to get into this episode. Yeah, this is new to me, but super excited every time I get on.
All right. So the game we are playing today is called Lie of Caelum. Lie of Caelum. And some of you guys is not gonna like this second part after. Lie of Caelum, episode 1. Y'all don't like that. Y'all don't like. They don't like episodic games. I don't know why, but some people prefer that. Don't make episodic games because it's not good for you. It's not good for, for the company. It's not good at all because nobody want to wait months and months and months to play the second part. But
there's a way you can do it where it's not just a continuation of the exact same story. You can, because I do episodes, but they're all from different angles, so like you could play them out of order and you're just getting like a different angle of the world instead of like, oh, you must have played the first one to understand the next one, that kind of thing.
But with your game, it's not called episode 1 or episode 2
or
episode 3 or
yeah.
episode 4 or episode 5.
Yeah, right.
You just got different factions that's going at this different time. Well, it's the same time but from a different side.
Yeah.
That's where you're safe at. This game has episodes, and for some reason in the RPG Maker community, people hate episodic games. But before we get into that, let me read to you guys the synopsis, what is available on the Steam store. It says, Lie of Caelum, Episode 1. Giant robots, technology abusing magic, conflict between countries. Join a group of fated individuals and liberate the planet of Caelum from the shackles of its people. Discover the mysteries behind their powers and dwell in their lives in this sci-fi JRPG. So, Cychronic, this is up your alley, my guy. You're a sci-fi developer. That's all you do.
In general, I like sci-fi stuff. I like all kinds of games. But I just see a lot more RPGs that are like in the, like medieval or high fantasy type setting, and so I don't see enough love for the sci-fi. So whenever I try to find those little nuggets, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You're the Captain Kirk of RPG Maker. So, just like every episode, guys, we get to spend a week with the game. More time with the game than we do with our own wives and our own jobs. The game is our wife. The game is our life. We make these sacrifices of our living home to bring you guys entertainment. So we just ask you to tell people about the podcast, the RTP podcast, and tell them to come on over. They want to see some entertainment with the RPG Maker community. Let's freaking go. So Lies of Caelum. As you can see, man, the game looks good. The art, the battles, all these features stand out.
And it's custom. Yeah, everything looks pretty custom and different than what you normally see, which is good. It has a very good presentation. Mm-hmm. Very professional presentation.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look like a knock game.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
When you hear that knock noise.
Yeah.
Every time you go into like any door, it's like for some reason everybody does it. I don't know why, but it doesn't even sound like you're walking through a door.
That's so funny. It's a genre now.
But people is watching, they gonna be like, okay, the game looks cool. The game looks professional. You know, looks like it has some TLC, some tender love and care into it. But the game looks okay. It looks great. But what is it about? Do the story hold up? Do the combat hold up? Is the game worth getting involved with? You know, should I play this game over maybe a AAA game like Elden Ring or The Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, D7. Let me interject for a bit, just because the video is on like the very beginning of the game.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about the episode. I want to speak on the episodic nature of the game and episodic nature of games, period. So there's a double-sided coin to episodic games. On the one hand, positively, the buyer sees that it might be a small bit of time to play the episode, so that might bring them to the game to say, okay, it's not going to take a long time to beat. On the other hand, it can be discouraging, like you said, because they don't know when the ending will occur, if it will occur. But that's my take on episodes. I think that, especially since it's an RPG Maker game, it being an episode makes it digestible, I would assume, unless it's a like 40-hour game, which I don't know because I don't have the full game. But other than that, I think looking at the beginning of the game and how it started, what I immediately noticed by just not pressing enter immediately is that the credits are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to speak to the polish of the game. I was really impressed to see that they're referencing all of the resources that they used, all the people that was involved. There's even a section for like a proofreader. So apparently they had somebody like proofread the game script. So yeah, really impressed by that. So I don't know if we should have a whole conversation about the polish that went into this game, because I just really want to have that be a call to action to like, okay, this is the level of quality that you want to have kind of as a reference to when you make a game that'll be monetized to some effect, right? But yeah, that was my two cents. So now we can get into whatever. Sorry, I was just really blown away by that.
You just made a great point though. Episodic story. More than likely, players may enjoy the story to wait for episode 2 because they like how episode 1 went. But at the same time, you got those who prefer to have everything in one package instead of having to wait. And people discourage it a lot with RPG Maker because more than likely, 8 times out of 10, it's one developer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not doing it full time, then you guys been there. You're one-time developers with full-time jobs, some with children, some with families, and they hardly have time to work on the game.
Yeah.
So
I have Saturday and Sunday usually.
What about this game, you know, can hook us to wanting more of episode 2? What does episode 1 have to want us to yearn? And I don't care if we gotta wait a year. We want to play episode 2 today. We will wait for episode 2 because that's how good episode 1 is about. So what did you guys get out of episode 1? Like, in terms, like, did the story make sense? Did you grasp it?
Yeah, so as far as I got, I had some issues with gameplay. So when we get to that, I have a lot more to speak on as far as that is concerned. But I did get past the prologue. And the prologue seemed really intriguing.
Uh-huh.
I think
Mhm.
I liked how they had a little bit of mystery. There's a lot to gain from understanding like the relationship between the characters that you're playing with, the status of like the main character you're controlling, the rules of the world, in the part where that female shows up and takes care of the enemies for y'all. She speaks on the rules of the organization that you're in, and then the overarching evil of sorts. And yeah, I think like they have all of those elements like down pat, and they use that prologue to like introduce them really well. I like where it's going, so when I finished the prologue, I did want to continue to play to kind of see straight out of like a sci-fi anime, I think, and it was pretty delivered pretty well. What you think, Cycron?
Yeah, I thought that the prologue was good, and I thought that the story seemed really interesting in the beginning. I felt like storyline wise, it got like more meandering as it went along, and less interesting as it went along.
Hold up, past the prologue, after prologue, or during the prologue?
Yeah, after the prologue.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but what I'm saying is I felt like as the game got further to the end, because I put about, the game is about 15 hours long or so. I put in about that much time. I got about 80% to the end, but then I watched other videos of the end, so I can kind of know what it's like. But I kind of felt like at the end, it kind of lost direction a little bit, like, and I kind of didn't know what I was doing or why or who or what was it, like. It didn't feel like I was unraveling the conspiracy as much. This incident in the prologue is actually like, I don't remember whether it was like 100 years ago or something, but in the story, this is called like the Safe Incident or something like that. And the prologue happened like 100 years ago or 50 years ago. I don't remember how many years ago, but it was a while ago. And so after the prologue, you play as new characters that are going to a like training, like a school for like training for this combat, or like this squad that is supposed to be dealing with some kind of threat. But again, like it actually wasn't 100% clear to me when I was playing it. At the same time, there were some good moments, there were some good cinematics in some parts of the story, but as far as like the plot of linking point A to point B to point C, and like I'm really invested in these. Some of the character development was actually pretty good, but I'm saying plot-wise, I was a little lost as the game went forward further. But character-wise, they did actually have some good moments with some of the characters that did develop them as characters. I thought that I'll save some of what I was going to say for the gameplay part, but I thought that the gameplay, it starts off pretty strong. After a time, you figure out the pattern and you just keep doing the same pattern that will work for whatever. Now, one thing to note with this game, that I noticed when I first found it a while ago, is something happened to one of the main developers of the game. I guess he had like a brain tumor or something, and he's better now. But I guess they didn't develop for a while near the end because of a medical condition or something like that. And so I guess they're back in the action now for episode 2, but I don't know if that had any play in it. But again, I don't want to like blast it because it is a good game. I actually felt like the plot though was a little hard for me to follow. Like who, what, why, where, when, why are we doing this? I thought the character development was actually pretty good at certain points. Like they had individual struggles with certain characters that you kind of got to know who they are and what their background was and stuff, and that was good. And again, I also am not like a biggest fan of like the school type setting, like your students out of school and you're like being trained and stuff. I don't know, it's like just not my thing. But at the same time, the sci-fi stuff is, so I really liked all the aesthetics of it. I liked I guess it's just presented really well, but it's not without its flaws either. I guess I'd put it like that. One thing I will say though, going back to the episodic thing, is because I wanted to mention this but I forgot, is one thing to consider is when you launch a game, it's all about your first week of launch. Like making the game is one half of the battle. The other half of the battle is marketing your game and getting it out there. So this is an example of, so if you have multiple episodes, you have multiple launches. So you have multiple chances to try your hand at marketing again with a new launch. And if the new launch goes well, people will find your old game as well, right? Mm-hmm. But if you wait till it's one massive game, even if you've made a perfect game and it's super long and it's super detailed and you spend 17 years on it, if you just happen to launch your game on the wrong day or you didn't market it quite well, it'll just bomb, even if it was a perfectly good game. Like nobody will find it. And so this game, to me, kind of is like somebody who's a good game developer, but they didn't actually like market or promote their game at all. And so it actually was really hard to find, even though it's right there. You know what I'm saying? So.
Right. It popped in my head. I'm curious to know what game progression would be like in episode 2. Would you have the same characters and start from level whatever?
I actually think it would make. I mean, I actually think that it would make sense to not use the same characters. You use different characters, maybe reference the previous characters, but have new characters, and like maybe it's like sometime later, but the story keeps going, because that way you don't necessarily have to have played the first one to understand the second one. Because that's the thing, is if an episodic series is such that you had to play the previous game to understand the next one, then what happens is you end up with a smaller and smaller audience each time, because how many people wanted to stick around all the way through the first one, a certain amount. How many people out of playing that are like, you know what, I want to play the second one? It's probably a slightly smaller amount. And then if you do a third one, slightly smaller amount, right? But
because I'm only asking.
But if you change it up a little bit, meaning like you make it so that, yes, there are episodes, yes, there's threads between the two, but you can play this as a fresh new thing rather than having to completely play the old one to understand it, then it can work. Then it can work just fine.
Yeah, I'm asking because have you ever played like Mass Effect or what's the Final Fantasy remakes? Just wondering how.
I haven't played the remake.
Yeah. I only played the first one. I didn't play the second part of the remake, so I'm wondering, like, I'm probably leaning towards they let you start with your old character stats or something like that, because it is the same characters.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
As far as the Final Fantasy remakes, no, they don't. They don't let you start with the save data for the previous characters.
Oh wow, interesting.
So it does just start with the next part of the story, but like all the stats start fresh again. Yeah.
Correct. That's correct. That is correct.
I think about that though, so just like curious. I don't know which one is better, but yeah.
A lot of people was assuming from the previous one, oh, I'm gonna keep all my material, I'm gonna keep all. Nope, it's not like that. But
yikes. Okay.
The thing my issue with this game, like in terms of story. The beginning starts off really strong.
Yeah.
You see, you go into this laboratory, it's death, destruction, everywhere. Dead bodies, mutilated blood. It's like most of the game core mechanics is in this one little area. You get to try the battle system. You get to see the puzzles. You get to find hidden items. You get to read, data logs and get a detailed background of what they was working on and what they was trying to hide at the time. It is really dark. They actually have you're not supposed to know who I am, and I'm not supposed to know who you are. And if we get separated at one point, whether the enemy catch you or you get lost, you're supposed to get executed. You're supposed to die.
Yeah, that part. I literally made a note about that part. I was so confused. I was like, I had to repeat it to myself. I was like, what? He just literally got snatched. Now he's excommunicado at that point.
Yeah. It really shows you how serious and how graphic this organization is. They're ruthless. You know what I mean? But without giving too much of the story, flash forward, it took a nose freaking dive.
It goes from being
man,
dark, conspiratorial, bloody, and like action, and I'm like, oh, I want to find out more about this.
Yeah.
And then it switches over to just calm and warm and cheerful, and I'm a student going to school. And
y'all gonna hate me. Persona once again.
Oh, you got Persona vibes from it?
Yeah.
Hey, how far, Marlon? So how far did you actually get in it?
So right after the prologue, I did the meditation training battle system, then I turned around and saved the game. I was so frustrated about the beginning. I was stuck for hours trying to figure out how to solve the puzzles.
The
For
puzzles,
the simplest reasons, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the first puzzle was the papers on the ground having the code to get into the terminal or something, right? I'm looking around and I only saw 3 groups of papers. I didn't see the 4th group of papers. When I noticed the group of papers, then I was like, okay, because I was trying to put in a 3-digit code. My biggest problem, I was trying to put in a 3-digit code in a computer that needed 4 digits. So I just kept doing that. Just like, okay, these are the papers that's on the ground. And I got so far into that, right, really trying to solve my own problem, that I was looking at the dates and stuff too, and I couldn't figure out the dates. So I was thinking, okay, which date could have came first? I thought the first set of numbers, the first 4 digits, was the year, which I think I assumed correctly, because it doesn't say star date or traditional sci-fi fashion. You say star date or whatever, right? It's A.G. I was like, I don't know what that means, and it's 24th dawn of moon or day of moon or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's kind of I play Final Fantasy 14, so I know they changed their months or whatever. Their months are named differently. So I ended up finding the image of the papers, the 4th image of the papers, and that basically opened it all up for me. I was like, okay, now I can solve it. I started with the actual dates themselves, because it was saying something the clue said the papers are, the code is the papers in chronological order. So I started with the dates that I saw. So one was the 21st, the one was the 24th or whatever. So I was just taking those numbers 1, 2, 4, putting it in and getting frustrated. And every time I screw up, I get even more frustrated. Like I said in the Discord, only thing kept me from not giving up was the fact that you figured it out, Cychronic. I was like, if a human can figure this out, I'm a human too. I should be able to figure this out. I'm not stupid.
But I got stuck on it for quite a while though. When I first played it, it was the same. It was the same thing where I found 3 of them and didn't see the 4th one, and then I'm going back and forth into different rooms and stuff. You can see it in the gameplay footage here, and it was frustrating, and then I still wanted to play it to get through it, but it did kind of break the immersion for me a little bit, where it's I was ready to go, and then now I'm okay, I've gone back and forth 14 times, and
I can say with a very amount of surety, or high amount of surety, that this will turn folks away.
Yeah.
They get the cool battle in the beginning where you're fighting the floating mech with your little penis ship, the little red ship, whatever. I don't know why it's shaped so long. Anyway, you crash or whatever. You have to abort or whatever. Don't get me started on the battle system. The battle system is amazing in its its progression from the base to what it is. Like, it's not using that traditional. It's something like the traditional, but heavily modified with the Vision Stella stuff. But I'm only explaining it because in the beginning, I don't want to get into the battle. But the fact that it takes you from the battle system to then this like problem solving, you have to do like one puzzle, 2 puzzles. Was it like 3 puzzles?
You had to get the code, then you got to guess the names, and it's a lot of back and forth. Cause I'm like
the hex. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Wow. The hex part was horrible.
Yeah, that's basically another word for, the room is going to keep repeating itself because there's some type of evil energy that's preventing you from going forward. That's what I got from what the hex was.
Also, something to take note of is that what this game does do as the story progresses along is that they do have you go back to areas that you've already been to before, like 5 or 6 times sometimes. Like for a different part of the story, you go back to the same place you've already been in the last part of the story. So, which I felt like wasn't the best way to go as far, build a new environment for a new scenario kind of thing. So I was kind of, it just like I had to go back to that forest like 17 times or something.
But let me say something. Imagine starting the game and then getting frustrated with the puzzles, saying modestly, I need to take a break, but then cutting that thing back on and having to do all that dialogue and stuff over again because there was no save point between the prologue, like beginning, and the puzzles. So you got to do all them puzzles again. That sucked real bad. So
that happened to me the first time I played it because I was like, I'm like starting to do these puzzles and then I had to go or something and I'm like, there's no save point. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no music while you're doing this either. So Phil, you that's like peak fall asleep material for me because if I'm walking around trying to solve a puzzle and I don't know where to go, I'm going to go to sleep. That's where I'm gonna go. But yeah, I think like what was cool, jumping back into the story because I'm creeping into the gameplay, but all of the little letters about like stuff, the emails, so you could check the emails and you could check the logs, and then they were like there was like a conversation like, okay, Dr. Endu or something, like we did this thing, so do this and stuff. I think like that really helped world build. So it was unique. I liked so actually I questioned it, right? The filter being so fuzzy, it gave me like sci-fi horror vibes. Like, okay, that's why this filter is on the screen, is looking a little fuzzy. It's zoomed in. The lighting is cool because it really presents the mood really well. And then the horror aspect it gave me, so that's funny how you guys say the game takes a 180 on the bottom half, but I'm here at the prologue like, wow, I'm getting ready to play some like Silent Hill type of game, something like that. But
question. And the filter, I didn't know what the filter was at first. I even said so in the gameplay footage where I'm like, you know what, like it was like the static filter on top, like TV static, and I was like, you know what? It'd probably be better without the static. But then later you find out that everything you did in the prologue happened multiple decades in the past, and so the TV static was almost like you're looking at some kind of like log or like historical record rather than like it happening right now. Yeah, so I got it after the fact. I was like, oh, I get it now. But like while I was playing, thinking that this was the main character when it wasn't.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick, and I want your honesty opinion.
Yeah.
Who plays Fallout?
Oh, me. For sure. Yeah.
You know them little terminals, right?
Yeah.
Do you read everything in them terminals?
No.
Be honest. Do you read?
I sometimes if it's interesting, but if it's boring, then I don't.
It's hard.
It's like 50-50 for me.
Yes, because you got to see something visually. Like if you walk into a vault per se, it's a shocking event. Maybe all the residents are killing each other. Then maybe you'll read the terminal like, why are they doing this, right? But sometimes when you just looting, nah.
I actually prefer when it's like an audio log and you hear them like going over like what's going on, because you can still play while that's going on. You're listening to the log and they're saying like, they broke out and I went to the lab to try to find him, but now I don't see anything, and you know, like that's a little better way to present it rather than like reading what's on the terminal, in my opinion. But I did read them if they're interesting enough, but sometimes they're interesting enough and sometimes they're too boring.
See, in this game, you're forced to read them because you have to get
clues in them,
and passwords.
I literally had to get a piece of paper and write down the clues because I didn't want to have to go back and forth because I'd have to go back. Oh, what was that on the computer?
But
I forgot.
Is that good for a prologue though? That's what
I'm saying.
No, that part wasn't good for the prologue. The puzzly part, it actually just kind of it took away the tension, and it made it take a lot longer and made it feel more clunky to get to it.
So you took me from a cool robot fight, superhuman samurai, you know, Voltron, Power Rangers battle, to me being in one area for it probably took you 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
To solve this first prologue. Right now you're already frustrated, you're tired, you're trying to figure this thing out. You're like, oh man, what the heck? There's no more battles. Like, man, this is my experience with the game.
Yeah, and not every game do you solve like 3 puzzles in a row. You had to do the computer puzzle number 1, then you had to do Hex, then you had to do the elevator puzzle. Yeah. And before you even get back into fighting, you know, and I already came from the confusion of what is fighting, period. Like I'm in a ship and I gotta fight robots. I'm like, all right, still trying to process that. But yeah.
So what is the player doing in between? What's the main thing that the player is doing in between trying to figure out these puzzles?
Well, what they're doing is they're trying to get to the center or the core of the facility.
Yeah, but what?
And one of their teammates gets like abducted or goes missing.
What are you doing as a player?
Oh, you're going back and forth.
Doing what?
Going into various rooms you've been in before to try to find something that you might have missed, and then going to the other room to activate it.
So more than likely you are doing what? You're on the right path, but more than likely you are rereading everything twice and you're forgetting, oh man, did I read this? Did I read that? Because you're doing it so much. It's so much terminals, it's so much papers you have to read. You're constantly going over and over,
and the puzzles get harder too, and as the game goes on, like so later in the game the puzzles get more intricate.
They do?
Yeah.
Hey, I literally I took a note. I said, look, one of these puzzles are like puzzles that seem more geared towards something that's like a hidden feature in the game, like some extra.
Right.
Yeah. It's going to unlock some crazy.
Which it would be good. Which it would be good if that's what it was. Yeah, but that's not what.
Yeah, that's what I would. That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. I would have had it like, you know, this is like a secret level.
Yeah.
You know, you may get like a strong weapon out of here, or maybe a strong armor piece, something like that. I would just kept it one puzzle to get the player, you know, groove going that, okay, this game gonna have puzzles, you know, throughout. That was it. Maybe make a little scenario about the hats, you know, the thing with the hats, and Maybe, make it like they gotta find the key. Maybe whatnot. I think they overdid it with the puzzles in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because
I agree. Yeah.
Because right now you're not retaining nothing, because what's on your mind is writing dates in order and writing whatever you see that's this color, because now you're not reading the text. You're looking for a red number or a yellow number or something that's different from the main text. So you don't even care what's going on now, because you're trying to get to the next part. You're trying to get to the elevator, the B44. That's where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
So
and you can see I'm doing a lot of backtracking in the footage.
Yeah.
And like really trying. I'm really trying to figure it out and get past it.
Yeah, we've been live for 30 minutes and you're still in the same you're still in the same area.
I don't feel so bad now.
So this is basically your first half hour of the game, trying to figure out what the heck to do. So combat is out your mind. You're not even thinking about combat no more.
The characters, you don't even care about the characters.
You done forgot what you read.
Yeah.
in the text. So one puzzle would have been perfect, battles, whatever. But this I think this was a bit too much in terms of like getting your player acclimated to how the game is going to be. And I wouldn't even introduce your new players to this anyway. No other game does this.
Right.
Name a game that gives you a well thought of puzzle.
All right.
In the beginning.
Yeah. See, and I think. All right, there is some flaws in this puzzle though. We want to talk about gameplay. The puzzle is almost airtight in its functionality, but its presentation falls short because you can get confused with the dates. There's nothing that can really tell you what these numbers and words are that represents the date. You can assume, that's the only way you succeed. You have to assume. Imagine you're an adult who looks at emails or who knows, who references dates in that way. What if you just use the slash January 5th 2005? What if you only know that format? That guessing was a little bit too heavy. And then the hex problem, I wrote down that the hex puzzle was really messed up because there was no indication of here's the normal and then here's the different loop. So if you're in the normal loop, then you kind of scan everything, and then when you go to the loop that's supposed to have the item that's different, that's what I assumed. I thought that I would I read I went to the tutorial section and read that article that says, hey, it might be an item on the ground or a door that becomes unlocked or something.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking around, I'm really trying to scan it. I'm thinking it's one of those visual puzzles, you gotta see one of these things is not like the other. But that's not it. You actually have to leave the loop, go back into the room, and the daggone card is on a teddy bear. I tell you, that was the craziest thing. It made no sense at all, right? That's actually the card that you take to you have to go back into the loop, the hex, and then open up the third level security door or whatever. That was horrible, in my opinion, right? It should have been just, an out of place object that you can detect or something like that from going into the loop or something, right? Or the character could just say, okay, so if he enters the time loop, he'll say this is the time loop, and then he'll say this is the original area or something like that, or here's now I'm in the hex. Say some sort of indicator player now look for spot the difference, do it. And then y'all know about the elevator puzzle. That was bad too. Why is there BF and then a BFF, B44F? I don't know. That was dumb. The fact that you had to backtrack to the first floor to get the code to come back to the B floor to get the code to go to the B44 floor. The way it kind of blended in, you can really get confused. I just went back up to the first floor on a whim, had to go remember where that red terminal was, but you're staring right at a red terminal on the first B4F, right? You're staring at a red terminal. So I keep going back to that one thinking that, oh, the answer was in there, but I know it said first floor, but I'm just like, maybe it was a typo or something like that. I don't know. So I'm just back and forth and back, and I ended up, process of elimination, like figuring it out. But it's just the way that it's done that needs to be a little more like better cues. Like make one terminal orange or something, instead of red, or make one green or something, like, so you could know, like, hey, this is the other one, not this one, even though specifically said, Anyway, yeah, I could nitpick all day, but Final Fantasy VII, the original, does something like this where you have to hit a button and then you go through a door and you hit another button right in that Genova reactor beginning of the game, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the whole time you're in battles, right? You're doing these little really simple battles, and then you do a little puzzle. You got to do, like, I think a little jumping ladder thing. The puzzles are simple, but they are there in the beginning, but they also sprinkle in some battles to keep you awake, right? So
while this is all going on with the puzzles, it's also just totally silent, no music and stuff.
No music. I literally wrote that too. Yeah. Also, your character can't sprint, so that bothered me too, where I'm like, just
very slow walking speed,
pacing my way. Yeah.
And it's like that throughout the entire game too.
Right.
And I don't mean to rag on this game, but like, here's the thing, like, this is a good game and it has a lot of good stuff in it, but I actually think that all the stuff we're discussing as critiques, if the developer takes it to heart, it'll elevate from a good game to a great game. It'll be a lot better. It'll be a lot more accessible to a lot more people. Things like that. So we're not trying to like blast the game, or we're trying to say, hey, here's where your game has some problems. They're relatively not difficult to fix either,
Now, sorry to cut you off. I paused the video. So these are the terminals that you're supposed to talk to, right? Do these actually look like terminals?
No.
Be honest.
No.
They look like.
It's kind of hard to make out.
Like they look like little benches, like you were sitting at the airport or something.
Yeah, but
sadly,
if you see the chair, you can see a chair right here, like in the middle row. That's kind of on top of. They almost look like little chests, like desk.
Yeah.
And not terminals. So that's kind of confusing, because it feels like you could talk to them. I don't know. Me personally, I would have used something else.
Yeah, or they could have said, one of the characters could say, "Hey, there's the red terminal." Right, as soon as you enter the room, like, the red terminal's there. Just kind of hint, like, graphically, they might have had to work with what they could, but they could have easily slid some dialogue in there to kind of make sure it's a hint to let the player know that they're on track.
Yeah, ain't nobody talking though. Nobody's talking nobody's communicating, nobody's talking to each other.
Yeah, you gotta be straight up Sherlock Holmes. And every time I got on the elevator, right, I kept looking at that guy. I was like, dang, what killed that guy?
Hey, he dead, man.
But let me tell you how good the story was, right? So I'm reading the emails, and somebody did like die, whatever, right? But I was thinking maybe that's the guy that died, like from the messages or something like that, from the emails. So it was interesting to be like read and then see the world like kind of represented through the visually.
And once getting past the puzzles, it did start to get interesting. Like the part where you started running into conflict with the other individuals, and the friend like went rogue or whatever. Like that was all good stuff. Like, but yeah, this puzzle part just really brought me out of the experience. So
right, I'm done ranting about. I'm done complaining about the puzzles. All right, because there's a ton of. All right, now we on the good shit. I mean, stuff. I'm sorry.
No, shit's okay.
Okay, cool.
Swearing's okay.
So did we get the gist of the gameplay? I mean, the story, right? To move on to the gameplay and battle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see on the screen, it's such a cool battle system. But when I started it, I was kind of confused, and I just pressed anything. Maybe that's what the intention was of the developer, because I did notice that I think there's a little bit of a failsafe built into the battle system where they'll automatically do some things if your guy gets too weak or something. Otherwise,
also the combos are available in the in the main menu. So if you open up the main menu and you go to like skills, I did
not go there.
Pause. Not for them.
Oh, not for the prologue.
And that's the problem.
Oh,
that's the problem. Sure. That's the problem.
Yeah.
What level are they on?
Are they on level 60?
They're max level.
Yeah, they on 99 or 60.
No abilities.
Yeah,
no.
Right.
Yeah,
make it make sense.
Yeah.
You got a cool combat system.
It kind of the combat system kind of reminds me of Xenogears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a cool combat system, level 60 characters, no skills. Yeah. So basically what the numbers are, the FP is your flow power. That's another word for magic.
Mm-hmm.
Some characters have it, some characters don't. Then you got your little number, your SG, that's for your combos.
TP.
So those go up. That's kind of like your TP points. Yeah. Those go up if you're dealing damage or you're receiving damage. But if you have like gun abilities, that could count as like ammunitions too. Like with the laser pistols, that counts as ammunition. So if your character don't have enough SG points, then they will stop mid-range during the battle and not do anything. That's what you get the pause from. Then they'll like hop back and won't complete the action. If that makes sense. But level 60 characters, no abilities. I'm thinking at the same time, I gotta guess the abilities for them to do it. Then when I look at the available abilities, it's blank.
Yeah, that was a flaw, and I was torn between mentioning like, okay, how do they introduce the battle system to you? They don't introduce it until after the prologue, so that whole prologue you're like fumbling through it.
Yeah,
well, I think they made the prologue after they started making the game. Like that's I think the game probably originally started at that part where you do the training, and then later they said, hey, we need to make this more exciting in the beginning or something, and then they made the prologue. That would be my best guess.
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah,
because think about it, right? I don't know how to say it, but like, exciting is definitely not the word that went into the prologue as like, okay, we need to make it, because I know the beginning with the mech and the little ship. Your I forgot his name. It's like Shy or something, but like that was cool. That really got me engaged. I'm like, I'm doing sci-fi stuff. I'm gonna try to beat this mech.
I just noticed what happened. Sorry to cut you off, but the main guy, Shy, whatever his name, his abilities were the press of a button. I just noticed that. His ability, like his combo abilities where you will input the combos in, he automatically does his skills.
Yeah,
but
like left, down, and right.
everybody else just the other two just got high and low and medium. I just want to point that out. I just noticed that rewatching this video.
Yeah. One guy though, I think the guy with the green wings or something like that, he had a provoke ability though.
Yeah, but who does that?
Right. I was using it. He gets like 50% more defense. And I just thought that was cool. I really like the they call it the triad or whatever, right? Where the tank, DPS, and healer. I like that in my RPGs where you have that viability of a strategy like that. So I just used it. It's not necessary to use though, right? It's just there. But yeah, I think I could tell they use a lot of plugins, and then some they tweaked it really heavily to make it interesting. I did have qualms about the font being a little small. I have a really big screen so I could see it, but if you try to play it on a Steam Deck, you'd be squinting super hard.
You got a Steam Deck?
Yeah.
So I was actually playing this what do you call it? Via what's that thing called? The with a backbone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was playing. I got the new Galaxy 24, and I was playing. It was fine. Yeah. No stutters, no nothing. It was fine. You know what I'm saying? Who need a Steam Deck while you got a backbone?
Oh, for sure. Especially for these, like, yeah, I seen. Was this released on Android or you did like Steam?
I did the Steam
remote play.
The remote play. Yeah, I did the remote play. But the thing is, right? You need a keyboard. You need an actual physical keyboard to do some other inputs. Like you can't use the controller to like put in password. You actually have to use the overlay keyboard.
Yeah,
that's on Steam. You gotta use the Steam overlay keyboard to actually put in the password. So I wouldn't really call this game control, just controller only, because you still need a keyboard regardless.
It might be a bug. So if the developer is listening, please look into that, because I continuously kept pulling up the plugin that allows you to type, like, move your
it's a keyboard plugin, and it allows you to directly type in. And if you don't use that plugin, then it ends up being where you have to like scroll to choose the
OG. What's your name? Put your Nintendo. That whole thing with the letters all over the place, the whole alphabet.
Yeah, cause it wasn't a biggie, but I could see where some people. I actually thought I was stuck, cause I'm like, dang, why my controller ain't working? And you actually have to. So I had to like kind of hit like the pause button to bring up the layout, like the mouse cursor, the keyboard cursor. Then on the virtual keyboard, I had to set the setting on the Z key, so it would allow me to like move the controller to put in the input. It was a couple unnecessary steps where it just took the comfort away from just gaming on the controller natively and not a keyboard.
For sure.
And a lot of it comes down to like testing and stuff. So like sometimes as the developer, you might not test every use case, and then when somebody else plays it a different way.
Yeah. Let me just hammer home the pain point is so big. These pain points are so big because it's like right there in the beginning of the game. It's like the first thing you do is try to solve a puzzle, but then that puzzle involves typing in the screen. Right?
And it gets more complicated later in later puzzles.
Yes.
Yikes. But overall, though, I was taken aback. I'm just going to call out a couple of things that I noticed, like on the level of polish, right? Like if you don't press anything, the game runs. It'll go to like a WMV or MP4 and start playing like some of the gameplay and stuff like that, like how older games used to be. If you don't press anything, it's like press start, but you don't press anything, it'll like show you what the gameplay is like, and have like a whole like videos what's going on. Also, like I said, the credits started rolling. It does really do, it does that tutorial pretty well, like after the prologue, like the battle tutorial. So then you understand it, and it's like, oh, I get it. But the combat was okay. Like, I wanted to get super excited about it because it looked super good, like the flashy animations when you press different attacks and stuff. But it just didn't. I think maybe I needed some more indicators of what was going on, like the talking that was going over, like overlaying the characters. It didn't give me a chance to read those words sometimes that was happening, like in
I know
battle.
what you're talking about. Those little things that flash to the side and the
gab windows.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, Yan flyers. That's but it was heavily modified. It looked really clean, but give me a chance to like read it, or maybe hit enter to push it through, because then I'll know I'm ready to battle.
Yeah. I think the problem is the location they put it in, because you know, when the player is playing the game, their center of attention should be on the character and what the character sees. It's like a radius thing, you know. So anything outside, you're gonna miss it because your main focus is on the character. So most of the time they have the little gap window on the lower right hand screen. Yeah. So you're basically gonna miss it, you know, the first couple seconds of it, and when you realize it's there, you done missed the clue or the next thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but my eyes are right there on the left, where it's like you have to select what the guy's going to do, like battle or guard, whatever, and then your combos are on the left side of the screen. Yeah. So if you're getting attacked, you're thinking in your mind, like, even though the prologue's not a big sense of urgency, you have no clue what the urgency level is. You're looking at the left, you're trying to figure out your strategy, but then they're talking to each other like, you know, but that's all the way on the right side of the screen. So I can tell it was a little bit.
See, this is what I don't like about the combat, and Cychronic may feel the same too. This is during this time, like, one of the characters, you got all his combos available, so it's really no biggie. But when you get the other characters, this is how every battle starts off. You don't have no SG points, no TP. And everything is built on TP. Now, whether you got a girl with a gun or whatnot, she's not gonna do nothing, because if she don't have any SG points, her gun won't fire. So you got to do a charge ability at the start of the battle to get ammunition.
Which I didn't really enjoy that part, to tell you the truth. And
with the other character, you can't do no combos because you have no SG points. So you gotta spam the high, medium, low in the beginning of the game, like in the beginning of the fight, until you get like on your third turn, you may have enough to do a combo.
Also, I couldn't always remember the combos. I could remember them for some, but I ended up just kind of going to, like, looking up what their combo is, whatever move is like the best move for the situation. Usually I would be like 2 moves or something, and I would just repeat it to get through it. And I did feel like it started to get a little repetitive after a while.
It does, because this is the thing. You got 3 combos. Everybody got 3 combos, right? You got one combo that may cost 20 points, like 20 SGs. And remember, these combos, some of them,
you don't know how much they take until you look at them outside of the
battle. Then you got another combo which takes about 40. Some of them you could do around 60. Then everybody has an ultimate combo that you need 100 SGs to do. But here's the kicker. You can do the first 2 infinite times. You could do those all day long.
Yeah.
But as soon as you do the ultimate combo, it goes right back to 0, and you gotta rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So basically, with some characters, you have to set it up where, okay, the next technique may do 50% damage more, 50% more damage unto the enemy. So these boss fights, when you fight the bosses, you know, and once you figure the bosses is basically elementary school. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing every battle. You go in there, you charge the first, you do high, low, medium, whatever you do till you get enough points. You do the first combo, which doesn't really do much damage. You might as well just keep doing low, or medium. Don't even do the first combo till you get enough to do the second combo. That way you get enough chain point to stagger the enemy, because you could actually like break their stances, you know. So once you have enough, you could just keep repeating that until you have enough to do the ultimate.
Then when I saw the high, medium, low, I thought about like Tekken, right? Thinking like, since the bat is flying, then you got to hit him with highs.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But my bad.
It really doesn't matter what you do. Like you would notice. Like you're just going to do the same thing every battle. The battle system looks good. Yeah, it looks fun.
It's presented very well. It looks very good. But in reality, when you're playing it, you do end up doing the same thing over and over again.
It's repetitive. It's more like what Cychronic said earlier. Once you find out the pattern, that's all you need to know.
Yep.
That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow, because I was really excited. Like coming out of the tutorial, I was like, man, looking at this stuff on the Steam page, the whole presentation. Oh, by the way, I think the actual title, banner, logo should probably get adjusted, because it's hard to read live Caelum, and the whole thing just looks kind of thrown together. But
white on white ain't good.
Yeah, if it was a good banner, it would attract so many people, and they'd be in for something. Like, I feel like they got a real special product here. But it does fall short with the repetitive combat.
It kind of looked like a default character generated from the RPG Maker engine. I mean, I'm just being honest. It looked like one of those faces.
Yeah.
You know, from like the generator, like the character generator from RPG Maker engine. Like,
I know.
No real talk.
Yeah.
But at this, you know, like the game, you figure that you're playing Legend Legaia, or you know, with Legend Legaia, they got the high, low, medium too, you know, and once you figure out the combos and you have enough points, you can do those combos. But at the same time, each attack makes sense. Right, each attack makes sense. One could break stance. One may have like a pierce effect, a blunt effect, or whatever. You know, maybe it's a weakness. But in this game, none of that is actually explained to you. You know, like, what's the difference of doing these high, medium, low? I know high with some characters it takes away from the SG. It actually takes the TP away, or the SG away. But I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like the battle, it looks good, but it's the same pattern. Even fighting, I don't know how far you guys Cychronic, but you fought the guy. Did you fight the guy when they was on the They just escaped the bandits, and they was on the little, like, the trail, like on the train thing.
Yeah.
And the guy flew in on them, and he said, "I'm gonna let you have your best shot at me."
Yep.
Like that was a cool battle, but that boss was so easy, because once you figure out the pattern, it's no problem.
Yeah.
even on true mode, he's a walk in the park. And some
And
of
then
the
and then later you get a lot of enemies or bosses that are even regular enemies that aren't actually hard, but you're not actually taking off a lot of HP. So like the battles take a long time, even though you know exactly what to do to get past it. It's like, man, their HP is so high, and
because you got
a lot of turns to just get it done.
You got to build up that medium combo. That medium combo is better than sometimes the ultimate combo, because
I noticed that too.
I did the ultimate combo on the boss and hardly took anything off of him. I'm like, really?
But then if you chain the medium combos, then it's a lot more damage. Yeah, so I've seen that on some of the characters too.
Yeah. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but okay, I would take it.
Also, I just looked up their second episode, and it looks like their second episode is a totally different set of characters.
Oh,
but there is some crossover. It looks like
It has to be the same universe. It has to be.
it is.
It has to be the same universe, the same struggle. Maybe
actually, I do see one guy that you didn't play as the guy, but he's one of the main characters, I guess. The Kenzo or whatever his name is.
Okay.
But yeah, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
got
but everything else, like, this is a game where even if you know it's RPG Maker, it's still worth, getting into.
I mean, it kind of shows you that even though it's an RPG Maker game, you can professionally present an RPG Maker game to where you can just call it an indie game. No one would know that it's RPG Maker unless you told them.
Yeah, and they did it. I mean, to be honest, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah. Yep, I do too.
It's just
exactly
it's
at that. Yes.
like this combo right there. I mean, that's freaking. It looks good.
Right.
This is
At that specifically, yeah.
This is
Making
what
it look like.
this is the flow of thing. We just did a awesome tutorial prologue besides the puzzles. Then now we got some type of Goku looking character that does awesome battle. Like, he's a martial artist, does some cool things. Now you looking at Dragon Ball and Naruto vibes. You know what I mean? Xenogear vibes. Then, it just go downhill. Cause you gotta go to
time to go to school.
You gotta go to a school. Then after the school, you gotta go to some classes. Then after the classes, you gotta walk around, talk to everybody. Then after you talk to everybody, you gotta go to some more classes. Then after going to more classes, you gotta go to the library for 2 freaking hours. 2 freaking hours. You're gonna be walking around trying to figure out what the heck to do next. Dialogue upon dialogue upon dialogue, walking through a town, walking at Mr. Tortoise speed,
snail's pace. Yeah.
Then you're distracted. There's a video game arcade. There's a lot of mini games. You're distracted. And now you don't know what the story is about. You done forgot what you're doing.
Yeah.
Be honest, Cychronic. I want you to be honest.
I am being honest. That's what happened. That's why it's hard for me to say what the plot is.
You don't have no idea what the game is about. Other than there's some flow energy. People want to get something like some frames that was stolen. Destruction. You just don't want them to fall in the wrong hand. That's all I got.
Yeah.
You're being distracted by everything else. You're trying to figure out where to go. It's like This is why I don't play school-oriented games, because that downtime is just a drag.
Where you're hanging out with
The
their
player
students
don't care about the story. They're trying to rush. They're trying to get to the good part. You gave us the good part, and now we getting the drag part. We talking to other people different. We talking to a girl in the bathroom stall. I think she was a girl. You got to go get something from her desk. She's not telling you, and it turns out it's like a Playboy magazine or whatnot. Like, it just, man.
And the worst part about these types of flaws in a game is they're not technical. They're like world building problems, they're plot problems, they're game progression problems. It's stuff you don't even get to realize that's bad until the game's released, unless you specifically get people to try like demos and betas and get feedback early on specifically about the flow of the game, not just like if it works or not, right? So,
and again, it had some good moments though. So even later in the game, there are some really good storyline moments, but how it's all like linked together with like the right pacing and flow, it's kind of hit or miss sometimes.
Yeah, it gets really spicy. Like the part I'm at is getting really spicy, you know. But once again, I'm back in the school.
You always go back to the school,
trying to figure out where to go. That's the thing, trying to figure out what to do next.
And then in other parts of the story, future parts of the story, they have you go back to the same like forest like 8 times or something. It's like a lot. It's like I felt like it was like one too many times by the end of the game.
Yikes, that's terrible.
But don't get me wrong, the developer showcased some cool stuff. Like,
they have a lot of talent for sure.
With the characters,
that's what I'm saying.
With the characters, the different abilities, the different powers they got. You even got 2 characters that uses cards. You know, to kind of remind you of the Wonder Twins. But you don't you don't fight against them. You know, I wish I did to see. Then you got some characters that shoot beams and some absorb energy. Then, you know, the guy that you fought and you put him in a hospital, you know, he had wind power, you know, different elemental. That was cool. See, this is what I want. You know, I'm expecting action from beginning to end. Of course, you need a little story, but from beginning to end, I expect that same energy. And when you make a game, developer, you got to keep that same energy from beginning to the end. I understand you need downtime. You can't always create the cool moments, but at the same time, you got to figure out how much downtime do the player actually needs in order to go on to the next thing.
Yeah, like you need 5 minutes to convince the player to play for 10 minutes. Convince the player to play for. You have 10 minutes to convince them to play for 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes to convince them to play for 40 minutes, and so on. It has to thread like a needle through the flow of a story, which leads to its final. Because I was wondering what was going on in the beginning, right? Like I played that beginning, and I was like, what was that conspiracy? Like what was going on? And I wanted to find out, and I felt like the game meandered after that, and it was like not as much focus, and you had different people. There were even some good character development in between with certain parts, but it felt like it wasn't like the story to me didn't feel like it was super cohesive as far as like the flow of it, but I don't know. All
I know, there is a government that's just trying to control things.
And there's like a mercenary group or something like they're trying to.
Well, one person, they cannot die. They're basically immortal. It seems like
a character or like a playable character,
like an adversary. You know, because remember, Oh man, I don't want to give away spoilers. I'm not gonna give away spoilers, but Cychronic, he did the part with the conductor.
Yeah.
You know, there's an individual that's pretty much like Highlander in a way. You know, like you can't kill him. But that's all. Like, it gets really spicy. But the thing is somebody gonna play long enough to get there?
And I would say that some people would, but some of the stuff we've talked about would make it harder.
You gotta be really strong to make it.
And it's hard. And you know what? It's you know, to be fair, it is actually really hard to tell a good story.
Yeah.
That's cohesive and that has the right flow and that doesn't have pacing issues and stuff. It's actually pretty difficult. And I've gotten better over time, but I'm still going to keep practicing to get even better, you know, but it is, you know, not the easiest thing to write a good story.
Exactly.
Just to kind of try to fill in some gaps here with our critique of the game as a whole, what do you guys think about the mapping? You know, how
I thought the mapping was pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bit. I would have liked a little bit less of the always just walking to the sides kind of thing. It sometimes felt a little bit like a platformer almost, like as far as just walking right and left a lot. But other than that, I actually think the maps look really good and everything. They have a consistent style. They look pretty custom. I noticed some FSM in there, but only like little stuff, like in the caves and stuff. And it's zoomed in, but it's I think it's actually, the mapping is good. I mean, you can see right here on the map, it looks pretty nice actually.
It's enough to call it a true indie game.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, the game is playable. Like, I would still play this. I would still play this on the fact that, you know, I like the direction where the developer is going. You know, the battles are okay. I wish they were better. I wish they had a little bit more strategy to
a little more variety.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to make sure you're geared up, because and the game tells you over and over again, make sure you're geared up, because you got to actually equip the items that you want, like the healing items and stuff. I'm like, man, why the heck I don't have no healing, and I just picked up a medical thing. You actually have to go in there and equip each character.
Because they have limitations on inventory for each character, so you have to equip items on the characters. Yeah,
and you have to pretty much strategize, prepare yourself for like each battle. And you may get a battle without even knowing that you're supposed to prepare yourself, and it's a boss battle, and there's no, you know, if you die, you're just gonna die. 'Cause I think one boss got me because they did like a super beam 2 times in a row and wiped my whole party out. I'm like,
Yikes.
what? I didn't even have a chance to attack yet. Well, I got this Joker down 50%, and that was a wrap. And that's one thing that the game did good. It actually tells you what the boss is going to do at 50% health. What extra desperation, you know, perk they have. You know, defense may go up, attack may go up, they may release a skill. The game actually tells you that, which I think is pretty good. But if you're not paying attention to that gap window, which appear in the lower right hand corner of the battle screen, you're gonna miss it. You know, but other than that, once you figure everything out, it's not about strength building or grinding, because I don't think grinding is encouraged in this game. You know, you're not encouraged to grind because it's kind of like a linear thing, like how Final Fantasy the remake was at the beginning. You know, you just go one direction and that's it. This is this game. Even though you could go back, it doesn't really make sense to go back and fight like these wolves over again once you get to a certain level, because you're
even though those wolves do show up still as you get higher up.
Yeah, but
you come back to this forest like so many times.
Yeah, but what I noticed, even though you fight the enemies in different places, it feels like they level up. Well, they have like a different breed and different levels. Like maybe the developer made like a copy of the same enemy but made them stronger for this area. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Instead of them just leveling up with you, you know, like some games do with like level scaling. But I think this one, you know, they probably just did it a bit different. But it's pretty much the same pattern. Get in, do your first low, high, whatever. On your third turn, you should have enough for your first combo. You do that one time till you have enough for the second combo. Then that's it. And when you fight a boss, you just save your ultimate for last. You know, that's the game. That's the battle. Is that exciting? The only thing that's exciting is basically the action sequencing. The cool moves, like the one guy with the sword, the two swords.
Yeah.
His ultimate is bad. Like, oh my gosh. But it can be weak too.
Dang. Yeah, that's what I got excited for. I got excited for the action sequences. They look like custom. I wonder, like, was this the art of the developer, or he hired somebody? A lot of people were in that credits though. So it looks cool. It looks like everything's pretty much hand drawn. So,
and you know what the craziest thing about this game? It's free.
Yeah, that's one of the big things I thought about when I pulled it up. I was like, this has a specific level of polish that could garner a cost.
Well, I think that it originally was a commercial game when it first came out, and then they made it free later.
Oh, that's cool then.
Yeah, because I did the same thing with my game, because you get to a certain point where your audience isn't going to grow anymore if you leave your game with a price, and you can just release it for free and you get more reviews on it and stuff like that. Like yeah, and also when they're making multiple episodes, they can have a free one to get people into the game, and then maybe their next project will be commercial, and they'll
What y'all think about that as a strategy?
I think it's fine as a strategy. I use the same strategy. Yeah.
I don't know what the base price was initially, but heavy discount on the base price probably would have been my move, like 80% off, right? Because then you look like you're getting a deal. If it was like $10 and then it's $1 now, then you're like, yeah, let me grab that.
Yeah, actually, I just did that with Rebellion, right? Like, so Starship Rebellion, I did a 75% off, and it was only $2. Yeah. And I got like $600 worth of sales in like 1 week, which again, like I'm small fry, okay, but what I'm saying is, like, normally it's more like in a week it would be like 50 or like 60, but and again, more volume because it's cheaper, so more sales led to, you know, a higher amount. But again, the heavy discount thing, that's where after a launch, that's where you get most of your sales, is when you do a heavy discount.
And oddly enough, speaking from a consumer standpoint, because I buy a ton of games, like I bought your game, I bought the game we got from last week, and I probably would have bought this one. Because it costs money, ironically, it places value in the product. It assumes a certain amount of polish went into it by default. If you use it for free, it's kind of like take it as it is. You might like it, you might not. You know, it's very honest for doing that. But at the same time, if you're like, hey, this costs this amount of money, and you stand by that, then the expectation is definitely there. But the expectation of the quality is there, but also there's a certain amount of assumed quality because it's a price. So
yeah, and again, like that's in my case, right? My first game, Origins, was developed in 3 months. It's pretty short. I mean, it's like 6 hours long or something, and it was built for the purpose of I didn't want to give my whole franchise to the publisher, so I was like, let's do a trial run. I'll make a quick game that you guys can publish, and then after, so I didn't even have control over the financials of it for 2 years, and then after 2 years, I made it a free game. And what I was, and then with my next game, it's not a free game; it's a paid game. But my tactic behind this is that with future games, I'll actually be able to advertise the new game that's coming out, get people really excited about that, and then. But guess what, guys? While you're waiting, you can check out the first game in the series, which is totally free, and you can check out the last game we did, which is on sale right now for $3 or whatever. And it gives them something now while you're advertising the next project, right? So that's kind of how I've used it, or how I've leveraged it.
This is once again falls to the fact that even though your game is in the same universe in the timeline, and it's against, you know, whatever factions against this faction, it's the labeling. Your game isn't labeled episodic.
No, it's game, episodic, but I try to obfuscate that fact, basically.
This game is labeled as episode 1.
Yeah,
you feel what I'm saying? So that's I see the strategy. You know, we gonna put everything we can into the first episode, release it for free, and you know, see how it do. Yeah. If it does good, if we garner a lot of interest, then we'll label, you know, the second episode, we'll put a price point up there. Because if you look at it, I think their Steam page only got 14 reviews.
And they released in 2022.
And it came out in 2022. But I think I seen Padre said that somebody was, what's his name? Neo was playing this in 2018. So this game been in development for a long time. Which makes sense, cause look how the game look. It makes a lot of sense.
They spent a lot of quality time on it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm like this. Just make a complete game. If you're gonna make an episodic game, you got to have episode 2 within 6 months to a year ready to launch. If you don't have a name for yourself, you're a small fry compared to what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake. They can do that. It's Final Fantasy VII. Even though it's episodic, they can still do it. It's Final Fantasy VII. If they release an Elden Ring episode 1, then you play Elden Ring, they could do Elden Ring episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. Heck, look at the DLC, $34, almost full price. And people loving it because it's a smash hit. Game of the year. They can do that. As an RPG maker developer, you may not have that luxury to do that. So I would just make one complete game, one full complete game, unless you're gonna drop another episode within the next year.
Also, something too is like the way that I do my episodes too is like each of the stories is actually a different group of people, and it's a different vibe. Like so, what I'm trying to do is like get different people that like a different type of story in the same universe. And so what has happened when I released my second game was people found that second game and never found out about the first game, and it led to people playing my first game. Just like if I make a third game with a different type of story in the same universe that's not just a continuation of the previous character's journey, then that can get a third group of people that then are like, wait a minute, I never saw the first two games, so I can build that stack gradually over time, right? So,
and this is another thing. You are able to play your game in any order.
Yes, yeah, you can play them in any order.
Lies of Caelum, you don't know.
It doesn't seem like you. It seems like you would have to play the first game to.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So if I don't know about your first game, and I bought your second game, episode 2, I'm interested in episode 2. Right? Let's say I'm interested in episode 2, $9.99. Right? I'm interested in episode 2 because the trailer looks good, whatnot. Oh, there's an episode 1. So right now, I don't have to buy episode 2. I could just play episode 1 before having to purchase episode 2. Now, I'm not gonna buy episode 2 if I don't like it. If I don't like episode 1. So if episode 1 wasn't as good like episode 2 is, because you already know people get knowledge, they get experience as they develop. So more than likely episode 2 gonna have some quality of life changes in it that's like updated to current gaming game generation. You know, it's not gonna have these old plugins. It's gonna have like newer stuff, better updated stuff, maybe better fonts, maybe better this, better that. Where episode 1 just looked retro in comparison. So now you're putting episode 2 on the burner because now you gotta wait for players, hope that they play through episode 1 to get to episode 2. So you're doing yourself more harm than good when you release an episode and make the second one put a price tag to it. I don't think that's a good strategy.
So this is basically all built around the use of the episodic format. Or is it because you could do a sequel, it could be Lies of Caelum and then Lies of Caelum 2, and is that not like from
that's different perspective? Because you got Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3. They're different worlds, different characters. Majority of the worlds isn't linked when it's named like that. But Lies of Caelum,
just to clarify, just to clarify, episode 1 and episode 2, it hints at the fact that like those are in the same universe, those are connected. You're telling one half of the story and then you're telling another half, episode 1, episode 2.
Bingo.
Right? Yeah, like chapters of book.
We know Caelum is the world. It's the land that they live in, their country. Caelum is the country. Yeah. So Lie of Caelum, meaning that the government is lying. You know, whoever runs Caelum is lying. They're lying. So that's what I got.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to you're going to have to continue the episode, you know, in that same. So we're not going to really know until we actually
I still don't know.
Episode 1.
I still don't exactly know what the lie is yet.
Yeah, so you got to complete episode 1 to like kind of, and I think I'm close. I'm close to completing it, but just in generalization, if it ends on a cliffhanger and episode 2 ain't ready for 2 years, your game is forgotten.
That's a sad, yeah,
It's
a sad
forgotten.
realization.
It's not like Final Fantasy. Everybody, you remember what happened to Final Fantasy 30 years ago.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1 looks dramatically different from Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 1 looks dramatically different from Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy, period, is different every game, right? Nobody, I think it might have been one. No. 3 and 4 or
Buy
1
it.
and 4. Anyway, it's kind of tough to compare how to do an episode versus a sequel using Final Fantasy. But if you think about something like Star Wars, I'm trying to think of another RPG. Dragon Quest? No. Dragon Quest, sort of.
Kind of also Mass Effect, sort of, too.
Yeah, I would say Mass Effect specifically, yes. Yeah, don't get me started on Dragon Age. That was horrible. But I think that if they released the 2, I would say episode 2, it would have to lean heavily on its improvements and deliver its updated, like all of the fixes. Like they fix all of the issues that were in the first episode in a manner of like, okay, here's a demo. They got to give you a demo. They got to give you like a good we got like video to see like the overview of what is new, because I know people who will play the old like shitty previous game in order to just get caught up with the new game. So I find myself doing that sometimes too. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is I guess I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, saying that there's still a lot of hope if they did release the episode 2 and it's way better. I think that it will then show the contrast between what was bad and what is good now. And if they kind of call that out in their marketing, I think it'll do better. It won't be like living in the shadow of what episode 1 was and how bad it was. Nobody wants to buy the game ever again. But if they show like, hey, we improved this is better, you know, more dynamism in the battles and such like that, then I think it'll be something to look forward to.
Yeah,
but who knows? I'm not even sure they're going to make it. It may be free all across, but I mean, with the work this is put in, you know, maybe
this game was originally a commercial game. Like when I first saw it, it was
originally commercial.
It had a price on it, but it only had like 3 reviews or something, and so I think they decided to make it free at some point. And I don't think that the future episodes are going to be free.
They need a
good trailer.
Not even
with some slamming music and then some narration.
I would Kickstarter this. And I'm looking at on their Twitter page, they got a wish list for episode 2. I mean, it looks a lot better, like in terms of combat and action sequencing and characters. Doesn't look bad. But overall, I think this game is definitely something worth picking up and playing, regardless of the long story, because it's more preference. Some people like a detailed story. Some people like, you know, more action than, you know, story. You know, my preference, I tend to lose interest when it's like drawn out, like how it was like in this area with the school, you know, because it kind of became watered down. You know, I am interested in what these other characters can do, their powers, and more into the battle system. You know, the whole time I couldn't wait to get into the next battle. And you're going to be disappointed. It's going to be a hot minute before you even get into it. But overall, I mean, I give this game a recommendation. I think you guys should play it. And I'm pretty sure my co-hosts going to agree the same as well. You know,
overall, I would recommend it, and I think that any of the negatives we talked about in this, if they could address those, I think a lot more people will get into their game.
Yeah,
because they did a lot of stuff right. You know, they did, and it's overall. This is something I would point to as another RPG Maker developer saying like, hey, you can get your game up to this type of level in terms of presentations.
Yeah. Like seriously, I will play this. I'm going to beat it because I have to know, you know, it's doing this game episodic doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. We won't know that until like how the game ends. You know, until how the game actually ends, and is there a plot twist? Is there like a final boss? You know, with like 3 stages, 3 different forms. You know, any of that. We don't know that now. We don't know that, guys.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if there are any secrets in this game that will make it kind of its unique experience. So because I do dig stuff like that, like fighting Ultima and stuff like that, or getting like a super cool weapon. So I'm definitely gonna play it as well. Last game we rated it out of 10. Do y'all want to rate this one out of 10?
I already rated it when I did my curator review. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I was leaning there too. I probably am the least equipped to rate it because I didn't play the game like past the prologue.
I played it pretty much all the way through, almost to the end. So I would give it an 8 out of 10. But it would be more like a 9 if they fixed these issues we discussed during the podcast.
What you think, D7?
I would rate this heavily more on battle, but overall, like I said, it still goes to my preference. I give it an 8. You know,
It's standing strong at that 8. Go ahead. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah,
because there are some flaws in it that drag it down, but there's also a lot of things in it that are done really right too.
It's like I said, you know, it's a lot of information in this game. You know, it has a lot of neat features. You know, the snap, like with the cell phone feature. You know, that actually in a way replace the quest log. You know, where you can actually like communicate. If I'm not mistaken, did this game have like or was it's one of the games that had like a relationship level? I don't think it was this game, but you know,
no, I don't think there was a relationship
stuff like this. It can have like a relationship game because you have choices in between of what you can say to a person, what you cannot say to a person. So I could definitely see, you know, using, I think it's called Snap something, the Snap feature. That could be like maybe put to use. But other than that, it's a lot of juicy information. If you like Persona, I think this game would definitely be in your alley. You know, me, I'm not really a Persona person.
I'm not either.
But at the same time, I could see the professionalism. I could see, you know, this game was heavily polished, you know, to make it look not an RPG Maker game. You know, given second thought, you know, it could definitely contend with other indie games.
Yeah.
You know, but some parts look jank. Some of the tiles stand out. You know, you could definitely tell this is an RPG Maker rug right there. You know, all day. It seemed like some of the tiles are like, you know, zoomed in, you know, made bigger so it could fit the world. But solid 8 all day. If it wasn't for the long driven dialogue in the beginning and my losses interest, it would definitely been higher.
Yeah.
Right. and it's those things like you can't deny. You can't like deny so many good things about the game, but the things that are bad are something that you can't just like toss aside, right? You really need those things to kind of lift that score up. But I just feel like if they did fix those things, I'm strongly questioning already why this isn't a more like this game doesn't have more eyes on it.
I think.
Yeah, no, and I was just digging through Steam because that's what I do. Because I try to find some hidden gems when it's my turn to pick a game. I literally look in the deepest crevices to try to find a game that is underrated or looks like it should be getting more attention than it does, and trying to find those games.
I think marketing is always marketing, guys.
Yeah, and this game, the creators of this game did no marketing whatsoever, as far as I can tell.
Then you said one person got sick, so that definitely had a lot to do, and you know how the world is. So maybe the marketing, but it seems like they're doing a little bit more marketing for episode 2.
Yeah,
and
maybe
what's up?
What do you guys think about? So I saw on Steam there's a tag you can add for RPG Maker. What do you think about that tag?
Man, I wouldn't even use.
Is that a gift or a curse? That's a curse, more so.
I wouldn't even use a RPG Maker tag, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even. I was like that's just like using the RPG Maker splash screen.
Well, what I do is I'll just use the tag RPG. And then I'll arrange by instead of like what Steam feeds me in my feed or whatever, I'll just look at like all games released, period. And then I'll go to release date, like which ones are the most recent release date in order. And then I'll just put the tag RPG, and then I'll just go through the list and click on each one. And then I can tell if it's an RPG Maker game or not, usually, but by like, even if I can't tell from the Steam page or the way it looks, if I play it and I like hit F2 or something, I'll be able to see the FPS thing in the corner. I'm like, oh yeah, this is an RPG Maker.
But also, devil's advocate, what about the community of RPG Maker players who love RPG Maker games?
I think it's okay to put the tag in there because I think it's okay to put the RPG Maker tag in there because what will happen is people that are looking for RPG Maker games will find it. But also don't just put that tag, put all the other tags too, so that like if somebody finds your game through a different tag and doesn't know that it's an RPG Maker game, they're not going to specifically look at all the tags that your game has. Oh, it has an RPG Maker tag, therefore I won't play it. I don't think it hurts to use the tag. I just think you got to use all the other tags.
If you're going commercial wise, I would not use the tag at all.
I don't use the tag for my game, but
you do it like the professionals. Like it's different than using like a Unity, because those Unity they have the reputation for releasing, or Unreal, they have the reputation for releasing AAA favorites. RPG Maker does not have that luxury per se. I'm sorry. Yeah. So using that is already a stigma on the engine. So you're basically telling a person, oh yeah, I don't have no coding experience. I'm just buying plugins, and I'm pretty sure my battlers, you're gonna see my battlers.
That's so sad.
You probably saw my battlers already. You probably heard my music already, and you probably seen my map tiles already. So that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, when you think about it, that's truth. That's truth.
When I tell people about my game, I like in real life, I just say I'm an indie game developer, and then that comes across better than like I made my own game in RPG Maker. It comes across totally different.
That's all you need. That's all you need to do. Just show your splash, your custom splash logo, which is your company, and whoever had your I would use. I mean, if Kalakawa itself sounds better than just using the RPG Maker, even though that's RPG Maker, but it does show some type of publishing, or some type of engine creation. That I mean, I would gotcha games, or whatever, you know, it's up to you. But just showing made in RPG Maker, no.
Yeah.
That's smart. But yeah, like I said, back to the devil's advocate side, like are we aware of the strength of the RPG Maker community? Is there strength in that community, right? Like maybe right now, the way it sounds, like no.
I think that there's elements of pieces of the RPG Maker community that are cool and stuff. I think there's parts that are not, especially like the forums and stuff are like really not good. Like
it's a lot of clicks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of clicks. Like you're not part of this Discord. You can see it with streamers. You can see it with a lot of streamers. Like if a person stream a game, you know, their viewers is gonna look and it's not gonna really pay attention if they play your game because they're just there to see the streamer, not the game itself. You know what I mean? So that's why you got a lot of developers create these Discords so they could create their own community and showcase their game, but more than likely their games is only gonna get shown only by their community. Their community is the only one that's gonna really care about their game. So it makes sense to spend that necessary marketing money to go outside the community because you want to go outside the community. You don't want to be.
Yeah, your audience is not other people developing games in RPG Maker.
You don't. You stay in the RPG. You stay in the RPG Maker community. That's where you're gonna stay at.
Personally, that's discouraging because I feel like I make the game for fun. I actually like being in the engine, clicking stuff and setting up.
That's how it is for me too. Yeah.
Right, but I understand it. I understand that the stigma's there, and the expectation gets defaulted to some subpar product because of the bar being a goddamn, you know, hula hoop or whatever, right? It's just some wavy jump rope. There's no bar, right? It's everywhere. As far as the quality of an RPG Maker game. So
it's because it's easy to make a game in RPG Maker in comparison to a lot of other engines and stuff. And again, it's not the fault of the engine, but it's just that you end up with a lot of people that just slap a bumper sticker on it, get it out the door, and they're like, I made my first game, and you get a lot of those games. So that's what creates the reputation. But it is possible to make a game in RPG Maker that is professional enough that no one would know it was made in RPG Maker.
And this one could definitely pass the bar. Like it has custom characters, it got a good looking world, you know, it got custom map, it got a lot of things going for itself. Even the animations ain't RPG Maker, and that I've seen, you know, everything seems to be, you know, like different, you know, outside of art, even though it was made with MZ.
It was made with MV.
It was made with MV?
Yeah.
Okay. So even though it was made with MV, it could be, I mean, for what it has going with itself, not once did I lag, did it have like stuttering. It felt natural. The only thing, it had the RPG Maker control jank where you need the keyboard and the controller at the same time if you choose to play with a controller. It's not natively done with one
partial
or the
controller
other.
support.
Yeah, it doesn't have full support. So that's really my only gripe. But at the same time, you know, if this was perfectly marketed correctly, it would have done great. But this game wasn't marketed correctly with 14 reviews. Something is wrong. For free
there wasn't
game,
any.
for a free
I can tell
game.
there wasn't very much marketing at all. This is a team that's clearly like into developing the game and making the game. but they don't market it, don't know how to market it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and that's and that
and that's half the skill, right? When you're developing a game, half the skill is that many developers are decently good at is making the game and getting the game thing done. And then now you got to sell it. Now you got to get it in front of eyeballs. And that's a totally separate skill. And a lot of developers don't have that skill.
Let me ask one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I also noticed that there's a mature content description on the Steam page.
And it tells you in the game too.
Yep. Well, that's in effect sort of shadow ban the game from being recommended to Steam players?
No, I don't know. No, not at all.
He got Grand Theft.
Although I thought the game didn't even need that warning because it was pretty tame in most respects as far as like the violence or the sexual content or whatever. But I mean, they have.
It says it has self-harm, bullying, drug, alcohol abuse, disturbing images, fictional religion. The thing is, we know Grand Theft Auto has these things, but they don't openly say them, do they?
I think they do. They give you a little warning when you
it's the rating.
That's but on the Steam page.
That's why it's 17 plus to buy those games. You gotta be 17 years old or older to buy those games. So they don't really have to tell you exactly what's in there. They just gotta give you that rating. But majority of the time, they may have like sexual orientation, stuff like that. But this is an RPG Maker developer, so of course they're gonna put like, any size of, taking unaliving yourself or whatnot, then we need to put that in there too, because it seems like there's more sensitive people, and I'm not trying to make anybody, like assault anybody, but there's a lot of sensitive people in the RPG Maker community where these developers need to put these annotations and stuff like that in there.
I like to surprise the player, so like not warn them and just have them figure it out, and then
like literally, it's clearly.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm being kind of serious. I don't really like.
Okay, somebody said Padre said you have to fill it out on Steam when
it's a rating thing you fill out on Steam, but like
that makes sense.
I don't think you're obligated to actually put a warning in your game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like on the Steam page, but in what he was saying inside the game itself, like as soon as you boot the game up, it tells you that warning. That this game, be mature about it. It said, have a clear. If you can't keep a clear head, you don't need to be playing this game. They say something like that in that manner.
And that's understandable. I respect that. But I was just thinking, hey, how does the algorithm in Steam, does it see certain keywords in your description or certain sections of your page that just push it down? That's what I'm curious.
No, I don't think that Steam does that. It's driven by other things. I mean, there's lots of I see lots of games on Steam like inappropriate porn games all the time, and it shows up as number one or whatever when you're looking in the search.
Of course, you got some horny cats out there, man.
Yeah, so I think that they're Steam or Valve is in the business of making money, and they make money by selling as many games as possible. And a lot of times, something that has violence or sexual content or self-harm or whatever, it makes the game more popular, right? So and which leads to more sales.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like
it just depends on who's buying, right? Because what I see with a game like this, if I look at Live Caelum, is because they didn't market it, meaning they didn't show it to people. That leads to almost no wish lists, and when you have almost no wish lists, that's when you show up at the bottom. The way that you start to show up on that first upcoming new and trending games on Steam is you got to get your wish lists and followers. You got to get them up to 10,000 minimum. 10,000, 15,000 to 20,000 more likely, and that's what will get you on the first. That's what will get you on that first list within a certain category.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So
Holy heck.
yeah, but I started to figure out ways to get the wish lists over time. Like my first game, because it went through the publisher, right? That got 25,000 wish lists, and it did show up on the first page for a week or two before it came out.
You know how much Elden Ring got?
How much?
665,000.
Yeah.
807 reviews.
And then with the second game, right? I did it all myself, so I'm not an expert in marketing by any means, but I learned a lot, and I got it up to like 3,000 on my own. But if I did things a little different and did it in a different order, and like COVID was going on during things, so I thought I was going to release it a lot sooner than I ended up doing it, and then like I did everything in the wrong order, like did the trailer way too early, and then did other things wrong until the end, right? But all I'm saying is that it is possible. I think it is possible for me to do it myself in a future game and get it up to that 15 or 20,000, which again, you're just trying to make the game show up so where someone who's just browsing will see it on the top page, and then it just leads to more people finding it and buying it. And it's just, it's the marketing side.
Gotcha.
And if your first week isn't good, you also got to consider when you launch, right? So like if you launch on the same day as another big game, your game will get buried too, even if like you did everything right up until that point, the day you release. And if there's anything else going on getting released on that same day, that's a bigger thing.
That's why you leave it to the professionals, because they do the research, they do the homework, they know the strategies. But a lot of those experts will not tell you how they did it, and they'll take too much money to do it. I would rather figure out what those techniques are and just do it myself. And speaking of which, first game got 25,000 wish lists. I saw $0 of money for myself, but it brought in $8,000 or so, right? But then the second game brought in like $3,000, but I got all of that, right? So even though it wasn't technically a successful launch, I got a little bit of something rather than a lot of nothing. I guess I put it like that. But you did that on your own, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You got the experience. This could be another our topic.
Yeah, like a discussion
for
episode or whatever.
For another day, because we could definitely be here all freaking night.
And once I figure it out, I'm going to share, right? I'm going to share exactly what I did to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. So, yeah.
So we could definitely brainstorm, and maybe round up a successful developer. That way they could show what they actually did, to have a successful line, if they're willing to. I mean, me personally, that's knowledge you have to pay for. So a lot of people may not be willing to share that, because in the end, you're their competition.
It's not really competition though, because it's not like someone's gonna choose your game over.
See, you're different. You're different.
I know.
You only got $10.
You don't think that though, but that's like me. That's like me showing you my playbook. Now you perfected my playbook. Now you're getting all the business. I ain't getting jack.
Right, it could happen.
So some people are gonna be like, man, that's like saying, man, how much money you got? They be like, you're getting in their pockets now. They got to show you. You mess with their pockets,
right? And
that's real talk. Some people don't. There's a lot of money in the sea. There, a person like me can probably buy your game and an Unjaded game on the same day, but you not telling Unjaded how to market to get my attention to buy his game. So now you're hogging all the money for yourself in a way.
But I also want people to play other people's games too, because I actually get kind of sad when I
sorry for my
not
dog,
horribly
guys.
sad, but I kind of get kind of sad when I see a game that's a really good and well done game, and then nobody finds it, and like how that must feel for a developer that put in a lot of time and effort of the game that like really deserved to get seen and just didn't, and that kind of just sucks. And so I want to find
sounds like the heart of a community, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
like a bunch of people who respect.
Because I want better games to get out there. I want your games to get better too, right?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna find a secret and then like hold it back so no one else can use it. But I get why someone would, but I'm not like that. So.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So you had to sit down. You have a sit down with a Moreira developer or RFL developer. Of course they're gonna talk about, oh yeah, I did this, I did that, I used this, I created this. But going down to actual numbers and marketing, that might turn to a whole. Why would they? Why would they? That's like owning a business. If I give you all my leads, where you're taking money out of me, so people gonna expect you to work as hard to get your own leads. They're not gonna give you the game. They'll show you, the steps, but they're not just gonna tell you.
Right. They're not going to say follow these 14 steps and your game will get
So mainly you can't, don't be naive. It's always good. Sorry. It's always good to go out and get your own knowledge.
Yeah,
that's the best.
I agree.
Watch videos. Yeah. It's YouTube. Hey, baby girl. It's always good to go out and get your own. Let Violet get that dog out of there. It's always good to go out and get your own knowledge. Is YouTube, is Reddit, is AI, for crying out loud. Yeah. To give you some marketing tips. You can ask AI right now, how do I market my game? And I'm pretty sure it'll give you
some tips, yeah.
They will give you some awesome tips where to start. Instead of spending getting with this company, paying them $20,000, to market your game and to take a cut or percentage. No, I'm not doing that. I'd rather save up my own money or make a Kickstarter, raise my own money, and do it my way.
Yep.
I probably pay some SEO, what do you call it? Organic, some search engine organic companies.
Yeah, I think it's optimization.
Optimization. Yeah, I would pay them to show my game like on highly public websites. That way it could get traction. But that's how far as I go. But you getting the percentage of my sales, where if I flop and don't break even, I ain't gonna get nothing anyways. Yeah, make it make sense. Is it worth doing it? Versus, having a game that doesn't look RPG Maker, that stands a chance against, these AAA games. Then now I need to ask for more money, ask for get with a professional, a good broker firm that does these type marketing, and do it the professional way. Everything is taxed right off. If I lose money, I write it off on my taxes.
Yeah, like you said, D7, I feel like this is big because I'm having so many ideas. This could definitely be its own discussion. I'm down to discuss that.
Yeah, and I think it should be its own discussion at some point. And I think we already have it in the thing. I would also like to mention that we're kind of hitting the 2 hour and 15.
We passed that.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of 3 individuals that get together and just talk about things that they love to do. You know, you lose sense of time.
Yeah, I'm just let y'all know. I'm going to try to play when we have that discussion. I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate because I'm more for the community. I feel like the joy of making games in RPG Maker, because I've messed with Unity and I've messed with Godot. I haven't touched Unreal because I'm afraid of it. I'm be honest, I'm afraid of Unreal, but I like opening up the editor and just dragging crap and making them say stuff, and the approach is very like fun in itself. Like the actual journey is fun. So I'm going to take that stance of, hey, lean on the community, lean on them. But there is a whole corner that's like, all right, when you on Steam, it's like a suit and tie, right? You're not going to put in a review, yeah, this kind of fun, even though it was an RPG Maker game, thumbs up, right? As a developer, you might not even like that review. You're like, oh man, could you take the fact that it's an RPG Maker game off? But at the same time, you turn around, you got itch.io and stuff like that. That's like, yeah, give me all your indie stuff. Give me stuff that you made, that passion, that like, that, what do you call it? Personal intimacy of like, I'm typing these words for you to read. This isn't Ubisoft telling me that it's got to be PG or, you know, it's got to have bicycles or whatever, like a certain game that they're telling me to make. It's like, I'm telling this story to you, right? To the 15 of you. You know what I mean?
Right. I think it would actually be a lot less fun if like somehow you got a job as like a game developer working for one of these large companies. I don't think it would be as fun as it is for when it's your story. You get to do your thing and you get to tell your perspective and hope that it's fun.
Yeah, and hope. Yeah, that's a big thing. But so just let you know, definitely should have that conversation, man. I'm excited for it. I'm for that.
I'm gonna say this one thing, and before we head out, people need to treat their game, especially these commercial developers, they need to treat it just like they do their vehicle.
Yeah.
You just can't put gas in it and that's it. You gotta maintain it. And when people put their games on Steam and on itch, but you know, most likely Steam, where you gotta pay $100, they feel like they're weeding everybody out because there's a $100 paywall. You're not doing you no justice, because Steam is just charging you just put their game on their website. They're not marketing for you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, your game may pop up if somebody search it or search a tag, but other than that, you know, they don't care about if your game gets a sell or not. They made their money. They made their $100. So just keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. Treat your game just like you treat a baby or your car, like something that you really like. Take care of it. Don't just let it sit there. Take care of it. So, Simple Gaming said you could do all that community stuff for 15 people and all that. Sure, but if you actually want to sell stuff, you got to get out there. And that
Which is true. The community aspect isn't just about selling, though. It's a lot of times the community can like help with certain problems, like maybe I solved that problem that you're having in your game in my game, and I can maybe help with this suggestion, or you know, it does help in that way. But yeah, like if you stay completely tight within just the RPG Maker community, you're trying to sell your RPG Maker game.
See, this is the thing. This is the thing, though. A lot of people in these discourse, they come and go. They only talk about their game and they vamoose.
Yeah.
But
so
that's what make
you got a handful. You got a handful of people that actually stick around and actually help.
Some regulars. Yeah.
Look at our Discord.
Yeah,
we got a lot of people in the Discord, but only so many people that just talk and help people with games. Everybody else just put their game in there and want the podcast to play it. And when it's time to play their game, miraculously, they come out of nowhere and say, "Hey guys, how you doing?"
all right. So that's why this conversation, like when we have it, it's gonna be so dynamic, because that's one area to think about it. But I think about it from like the maker space, where people from the community will make plugins for the game, right? And you can message those guys straight up, right? I just feel like it's more close knit, or some semblance of it. But you're right about the making money thing, right? So I feel like it's a big conversation to have.
Yeah,
people don't want to spend money. There's tons of map makers, like Simple Game. It makes beautiful maps. He's making maps for one of the most anticipated RPG maker community games out there. You know, he's a great map maker. You know, he started from the bottom, you know, making the knock noise games. Now he's like a genuine, you know, certified map maker. Then you got Heroic Zephyr that can help you, you know, with art, and she does her streams. Like, there's a lot of people that you can associate yourself with to help yourself with the game, and these people would generally do it without charging you a dime. But some other people, man, you got to spend money, and in reality, you have to spend that money. But people want shortcuts. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. It is what it is, guys. But it is that time. I'm sorry, don't want to leave, but then Jada got a family. I got one. I ain't eat yet. And Cychronic, he got a girl. He's free to do whatever he want. You know, eat whatever he want, cook whatever he want. You know, the Starship, he can teleport and beam himself to outer space whenever he wants to.
Yes, I can.
We got some good things to talk about, guys. So like I always say, I mean, you want us to talk about a specific discussion, you always welcome to put your recommendation, what we need to talk about, in the Rarely Typical Players podcast discussion board or discussion request sheet. That way we can at least have done the research before we give our own opinion. So we are looking forward to doing those type of episodes. But all right, guys, definitely appreciate you guys for coming out, hanging out with us. Lies of Caelum episode 1 is available on Steam. It is free to play.
Definitely check it out. Yeah,
I recommend this game. If you like Persona with some Xenogears, and somebody said Crusade or something, it definitely looked like that game without the first person. So I think the podcast should check that game out one day. I think DK mentioned it in the Discord, and the game do look a little bit interesting. It is a commercial game, by the way. So if they have a demo, or we could get in touch with the developer, that will work. So until next time, guys, we are out. Peace out.